What's happening, guys? Gwen here with Intero Real Estate at Burlingame. Well, hey, just wanted to share with you guys a story on a water heater that I recently worked on for a client of mine. So the tenant calls me up, lets me know about a small leak that's coming from the water heater. Wasn't really a big leak, so it wasn't an emergency. And so the very next morning, I went by the property to take a look at the water heater, and turns out there was a very small leak coming from the top of the water heater. Again, wasn't a big leak, so it wasn't a huge emergency, but as with any type of water leak, whether if it's big or small, better to work on them sooner rather than later. And so what we ended up doing is the owner wanted to put in a tankless water heater to save some space in the garage. So I had my handyman come out and take a look at it, and it turns out that the location was suitable for a tankless water heater. So I just found this out. Didn't know this, but apparently not every tankless water heater is suitable for the location of where a tank water heater should be, because you got to think about the ducting. Apparently these new tankless water heater require a special type of ducting, and they require, I guess, a larger gas line to go in to feed up, depending on the size of these new tankless water heater. So luckily enough, everything worked out and we were able to put in a new tankless water heater. So ended up ordering the water heater. A few days later, came in and had my guys come out and do the install. Here you can take a look at some pictures of them doing the install themselves. And then here's a picture of the finished tankless water heater. We ended up going with an external install because it was just easier with the whole ducting, just because it was just on the other side of the wall, and it saved the extra space in the garage, in which what the owner wanted to do with the property. So after a few days, I checked back with the tenant. Everything was all cool. The water heater is working fine. Hot water is great. And you know what? It got me thinking about my own personal water heater at home. My water heater is a bit on the older side. Don't know when it was installed, but it was much older. And got me thinking whether if tankless was a good fit for my place. And so was thinking about it, did a little bit of Google search, went out to my water heater closet, took a look at it. Turns out it was same scenario. It was a great location, didn't have to upgrade my gas line, and my vent went straight up, so it was a perfect location. And coincidentally, as I was checking the date of the install, I noticed that there was a small leak in the water heater, a very small leak at the bottom. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, I've got some time on this water heater because it's a small leak. I can just take my time to figure out if I really do want to install a tankless, because it gets pretty pricey doing a tankless water heater. So the funny thing is, after a few weeks, I completely forgot about this water heater project that I had in mind at home. What brought it back to my attention was that I saw a small leak coming out from the front of the closet. I opened it up, and this is what it looked like. And I was like, wow, now it's a much bigger leak compared to when I first saw it. And so it got me a little bit stressed, so now I had to actually deal with it because it's a water leak. It can only get worse. And so I started looking into it again, trying to figure out what kind of water heater I wanted to get, what kind of tankless, this, that, Google search here, this, that, talking to my handyman. Within the next day or two, this turns out the leak got even bigger. The leak got so bad, it started leaking into my garage and the back wall. And then once it got there, my wife started noticing it. And then she started asking me about why there's water on the ground. Questions like that. Obviously, as a husband, I get very defensive about that. Why are you asking about the water in the garage? Of course there's the water in the garage, because there's a leak in the water heater. Back and forth. Lo and behold, I had to deal with it right away. I tried to buy myself some time by putting some towels there, constantly brushing the water out of the garage. But obviously, as you can see at this picture, it got pretty bad. And this is just the early stages. This was probably like the first day or two when I noticed the leak. going into the garage. I didn't actually replace the water heater because all the parts didn't arrive from when I ordered it. Supply chain issues and all that. I didn't work on it until another week or two. So after all the parts came in, finally got the water heater replaced. Completely happy, and this is what it looks like. It's great because now I get more space in the water heater closet for stuff for me to store. So I want you guys to think about 3 things when you're thinking about replacing your water heater to a tankless water heater. So the very first thing is really to understand whether if the location and the access of the actual water heater is conducive to have a tankless water heater to be installed, because you have to think about the ducting vent, where the duct is going to run to, and also the gas pipe, whether if the gas pipe needs to be replaced. At the end of the day, you really got to think about whether if the whole total cost of replacing it from a regular water heater to a tankless water heater is feasible, because sometimes if you've got to make a lot of those changes, the cost of replacing it because of the labor for all that work just will not pencil out. And luckily for my personal case, my personal situation, it worked out and it penciled out well, and it was just a benefit for me because I really wanted to get that extra space inside the storage. And then number 3, probably the most important thing, whenever there's a leak, big or small, it's very important for you to just deal with it and work on it right away. Maybe you don't have to work on it right away, but just start planning and thinking about it, because a small leak can turn into a big leak very quick and very fast. And you don't want somebody like your wife asking you questions like, why is there water in the garage? Questions like that will kind of irk you at times. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below and let me know if you're thinking about replacing your water heater. If you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe below to catch my latest video. I'll see you guys at the next one.